Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Veterans Social Summit. My name is Annette Wittenberger. I am the founder of A Wild Ride Call Life and the host of the Truths We Hide podcast. I am also a retired Army veteran and military spouse. I have 2 kids, one in college and a senior in high school. Today, I am going to talk to you about revealing our hidden truths. And a lot of it has to do with learning how to use our voice to share our story. So I'm going to bring you back to my childhood when I first experienced childhood trauma at the age of 9. And growing up in the 80s, as you know, talking about that sort of thing was not the norm, but it just didn't happen. So to seek out counseling and therapy and having all those options provided to you that's not what happened. That's not how we grew up. So going through any kind of mess stayed in the house. So after going through that, I just learned to suppress it really well. I learned how to just keep going on and just living in fear, like it was just the thing. That, of course, led into my teenage years where I didn't know anything else but to be surrounded by, mental abuse, verbal abuse, and didn't know how to get out of it, didn't know how to say no, didn't know how to fight back. When I finally left home from college, I decided to join the Army. I was commissioned out of Arizona State University and experienced my first military sexual trauma then. And again, what do you do? How do you talk about it? Is anybody going to believe you? How do I keep moving forward if these types of things keep happening? But that's all I knew. And I didn't want to be seen as weak. I didn't want to be judged. I knew that I had to prove something to myself. So I just kept moving forward. Got commissioned, kept going through my career as if not that as if nothing happened, but as if, I'm just going to push that in the back of my mind. I'm just going to try to be stronger. I'm going to continue to try to prove my worth, like I belonged. I lived like this for several years and kept thinking that I needed to continue to prove myself to fit in. I hid all of my truths. I hid the fact that it bothered me. I was still living with things that had happened as a child. I was living with the fact that the person that I thought I could trust completely took that away from me. I was still living in fear, but also being skeptical of anybody that I had worked with or that was in charge of me. It was a constant battle that I had lived with. I struggled with suicidal ideations. I was often depressed. I had anger issues. I had trust issues, but still didn't know how to talk about them. Later on in my career, I finally decided to try and seek therapy, but I had this control over me that I couldn't let go. And I would use that as an excuse of the way I was acting, the way I was feeling. So when I tried to go seek therapy, it was a constant battle of covering it up with a dentist appointment or a doctor's appointment. It was never, I'm going to Military One Source to talk to a counselor. I was deathly afraid that that would be revealed to my chain of command. As a matter of fact, I kept trying to confirm that what I was saying was not going to be revealed, and they kept telling me that it would not unless I was to harm myself or others. So I still, even in the counseling sessions, I still would be careful with my choice of words. I was still being careful of what I was going to say because I didn't want anybody to know. So rather than talk about the fact that I was still thinking that I shouldn't be here anymore, I covered it up. I covered up and I just kept agreeing with the things that they were telling me. I kept saying that, it was fine, that everything was going to be fine, and it really wasn't. I hid so many parts of myself, and I was a volcano waiting to erupt. So I kept moving along, kept PCSing from duty station to duty station, and thought that I was okay, that I could possibly end up, fulfilling the 20 years that I had hoped to at that point. When it came time to actually retire or get looked at for the promotion list and I didn't get selected, that was when everything fell down on me. That's when all the things that I had hid for decades just consumed me to the point where I felt like I was drowning. Not being selected for the next promotion can devastate anybody. So, I tried to accept that maybe it was time. I tried to accept that I was not a bad leader. It was just a numbers game. There was all these things that were going in my head. I tried to not let that piece of paper define me, but it wasn't that easy. And for those of you who have served and maybe know somebody who has gone through the same thing, that piece of paper defines you your whole career, because that's what was going to help you get the next job or the next rank or the next assignment. It was all on that piece of paper because no one really sees you. So I had a choice to make, and I had 30 days to make it. And it was joining the National Guard or the reserves. I think there was even warrant officer in there. I don't even remember now. After actually going to talk to a recruiter and weighing my options, it was decided that it would make more sense to retire. So I retired at 17 years, 4 months as a major, and it literally crushed my soul. That's how I felt. It was an experience that I felt defined me. I felt that I didn't know what else I was going to do. I lost my identity because I was no longer Major Wittenberger. I was now Annette, and I was a mom, and I was a dependent, and I was a military spouse, but I wasn't that major that worked so hard to get to where she was at. The day that I walked out of that building, that clearing building with the box that had the flag in it and a certificate of achievement and a DD 214, I walked to my car, I sat in the seat and I looked at it and I just cried because I thought that this cannot just be it. This isn't the end. Where there's got to be something else. So yeah, there was something else. There was a retirement ceremony that I was supposed to attend, but I didn't because I was pissed. I was mad. I said, well, I'm not going. Why am I going to go? This isn't even how I'm supposed to be retiring. This is not how it's supposed to end. It's not over. So I didn't go. And, part of me regrets it because I wish that I could have had my children actually see their mom up there and maybe be proud. But a part of me was so heartbroken that I don't think I deserved to be up there. I didn't deserve to be up there. I didn't do 20 years. I didn't accomplish what I was supposed to accomplish. I felt completely broken. So I was done. I was done with trying anymore. I was done with trying to figure out anything else. I thought I had a plan. I thought that, I was going to write a resume and I was going to go back and work in the G3 training section. I was still going to be with soldiers, but it didn't happen that way. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was completely lost. So for 4 months, as I waited for pay, because it took 4 months to get paid, I was just thinking, oh my God, I'm so glad I had a savings, because not many of us think about that, about saving for the rainy day or for the emergency fund. We just spend our money because we know we're going to get paid and we're going to be okay. So I was completely devastated with everything that was going on and living off my savings account because I wasn't getting paid anymore. I wasn't getting paid until they fixed whatever it was in their system. So I had to reach out. I reached out to a friend and I told her that I couldn't do this anymore. I was just done with everything. I felt completely alone and lost and like a failure. So I was reminded that I had a family. I had 2 kids that were looking at me. I had people that were still waiting to see what I was going to do next. So I started writing. I grabbed some free account off of WordPress. I started putting my thoughts down on how I felt about the fact that I felt like my life was over. I was still in contact with some soldiers who had to relay to me that they also felt lost during the transition period. Because if 4 years ago, and it's been 4 years since I retired, 4 years ago when we went through that week-long course, the transition, learning how to get out of the Army, learning how to dress, learning how to write a resume, learning how to figure out what you wanted to do, how to talk to people, how to do an interview. But there was nothing in there about how to mentally prepare yourself, how to realize that once you go home, you don't have to get up the next day to go to formation. You don't have to report to anybody. You don't have to do anything unless you already have a job lined up, but I didn't. So amongst all the other stressors of trying to figure out what the heck you were going to do next, no one prepares you for mentally trying to figure out what you're going to do next. Are you okay? Do you know that you are still an accomplished individual for serving your country? Do you realize that you are still a person beyond the title? No one prepared us for that. So I decided that I needed to do more than writing. I decided to create a website. I decided to create some kind of outlet and brand that would bring people in to learn how to share their story. And that's where I came up with the Wild Ride Called Life, because it is. That's our journey. That's our life. It is crazy. It's a wild roller coaster. So now I have that. I share personal stories. I have guest bloggers that come on and share their own stories about the real hard facts of life, the hidden truths that we don't talk about. But in this space that there is no judgment, you are able to freely open up about anything and everything. It is a space for not just military, not just veterans, for anybody, because if we really look at it, veterans aren't the only ones who suffer from PTSD, depression, and anxiety. Anybody can. There are people out there that have gone through their own trauma, who have their own PTSD. They have their own from so many different situations in their life. So we have to remember that we need to be careful how we judge people, how we look at people, because you don't know what they're going through. Then there comes the Truth We Hide podcast. That's exactly what it is. The Truth We Hide, like I'm talking about right now, which is composed of several different types of people going through several different types of triumphs, obstacles, trauma, and they share their story in a space where they will not be judged, where we can listen, we can appreciate, and we can gain some form of knowledge from them on how life is and be grateful for the life that we have. I heard two phrases 2 years ago that have forever been embedded in my mind. And I know you've heard of this one, that it is okay to not be okay. And I've learned that through every single day that I wake up and talk myself into, is this going to be a good day or is this going to be a bad day? How am I going to look at things today? If I am not going to mentally be all in the work that I do, and I'm just not feeling it, I'm just not okay today, then I'm going to take it off. I'm going to take an hour or two, or if I have to take the whole freaking day, then I will do it. And I'll come back tomorrow. Because especially during this time, this is one of the most difficult and challenging times in our lives. It's important to remember to give yourself grace. And I didn't do that for decades, literally decades. I was so hard on myself. I discredit myself often. I don't think I'm good enough for certain things. I don't think that I have a lot to offer. But that is when we have to give ourselves the most grace, to realize that we do. And that didn't hit me until 2 years ago when I was in my car accident with my daughter. I was taking her to college. Our car flipped 5 times. One of us was medevaced to one hospital, the other by ambulance to a different hospital. She broke her leg, has a permanent rod in hers. I have a new hip. I have a hip replacement at the age of 44, along with screws and plates all on my left side, and which is formed into some type of awesome arthritis when it's cold outside. So there are things in our life that we go through that we have to figure out how we're going to turn that around. So after 6 surgeries, 5 weeks in the hospital, away from all my family, coming home to learn how to walk again after months and months of physical therapy, and transitioning from a wheelchair to a walker to a cane, I was reminded that I was still alive. It could have been worse, and it really could have. There are many car accidents like ours that people don't come out of. And being told that from several doctors and nurses that we should not be here made me finally realize and open up my mind and my eyes to see that there was absolutely a purpose. So I've turned my mess into my message. All the crap that I've gone through in life, I am now finally in a space to make it into a positive message. And I encourage every one of you that's listening to this to do the same. I'm not downplaying anyone's traumatic experiences in life, traumatic events, anything. I just have looked at my own and have turned it into something else. Now I can help other people that have been sexually assaulted, sexually abused, verbally abused. I can turn that into helping others. So I encourage you to look deep into yourself and see how you can do that. Whether you're a coach or a mentor, a friend, someone that people can reach out to, or you put it into a book like I am, so that we can provide hope for others. Because that's what it is. We're still here to provide hope, to show that there's hope, to show that there are party lights at the end of that tunnel, because we're going to come out of it. And we're going to come out of it stronger than we have ever been before. So I thank you for listening. I thank you for being here, for supporting such an amazing event, for being here for all of us. I hope you took something away from this. I hope you will reach out if you need anything at all. Like I said, my spaces are all for us to learn how to use our voice, to share our story, learn how to live with our PTSD, depression, or anxiety instead of suffer from it. Learn that it is okay to not be okay, and to use our mess into our message. You can find me at awildridecalledlife.com. And I thank you all for being here. My name is Annette, and I hope to talk to you soon.